Imagine waking up every single morning with a heavy, invisible weight pressing down on your chest, the silent stress of money. David was a hard-working professional, but despite a good salary, his bank account looked like a leaky bucket in a storm. He wasn't spending on luxury cars or designer clothes, yet $2,000 was vanishing into the digital abyss every single month. This is the story of how David stopped being a victim of his own finances and built a financial second brain. To understand the solution, we first have to look at the mess, the clutter of a modern life lived without a system. Like many of us, David suffered from subscription creep, those tiny $10 and $15 charges that bleed a budget dry. He had forgotten invoices for services he no longer used, and premium memberships for apps he hadn't opened in over a year. His email inbox was a graveyard of payment confirmed notifications that he had trained his brain to ignore completely. This emotional avoidance is a common psychological defense mechanism. We hide from the numbers because the numbers hurt. But as the famous management consultant Peter Drucker once said, "What gets measured gets managed." Without measurement, David was flying a plane in thick fog without any instruments, hoping he wouldn't hit a mountain. One Tuesday night, David sat at his kitchen table, surrounded by crumpled receipts and 3 different open credit card statements. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He was effectively working 10 days a month just to pay for his mistakes. He felt the sting of missed opportunities. That money could have been a down payment, an investment, or a dream vacation. Every forgotten invoice was a brick in a wall keeping him from the financial freedom he so desperately craved. He realized that willpower wasn't the answer. He didn't need more discipline. He needed a better architecture for his life. We often blame our character for our financial failures, but usually it's just a lack of a reliable personal operating system. In his book, Building a Second Brain, Tiago Forte talks about offloading the burden of remembering to digital tools. David decided to apply this concept specifically to his wealth, creating a digital sanctuary for his financial data. He started by acknowledging the hidden money phenomenon, the capital that already belongs to you but is being stolen by inefficiency. This wasn't just about saving money on lattes, this was about reclaiming his agency and his future. He opened a clean digital workspace and titled it The Brain, his new command center for every dollar he earned. The first step was the audit of shame, a deep dive into every transaction from the last 90 days. He saw $45 for a gym he stopped visiting after the New Year's resolution faded in February. He found a $120 recurring charge for a software suite he used once for a hobby he no longer pursued. The list kept growing. Streaming services, cloud storage tiers he didn't need, and high-interest late fees on utility bills. He felt a mixture of anger and hope. Anger at the waste, but hope because he finally saw where the leaks were. Most people live in a state of financial reactivity, only looking at their money when a card gets declined. David was moving toward proactivity, building a system that would alert him before the damage was done. He began to categorize his leaks into 3 buckets: the zombies, the vampires, and the ghosts. The zombies were the subscriptions he thought he'd canceled but were still clawing at his bank account every month. The vampires were the high-interest debts and hidden fees that were slowly sucking the life out of his savings. The ghosts were the missed opportunities, the cash sitting in low-interest checking accounts instead of working for him. Seeing it all on one screen changed his perspective. He wasn't bad with money, he was just unorganized with data. This shift in identity is crucial for any long-term transformation, as James Clear emphasizes in Atomic Habits. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. David's new goal was simple: to build a system so robust that it made wealth building the path of least resistance. He spent the next 4 hours mapping out his first financial flowchart, linking his income to his automated brain. He wasn't just looking for $2,000, he was looking for his self-respect and his ability to sleep through the night. The financial second brain was no longer just an idea, it was a blueprint for a brand new life. Building the second brain started with a simple rule. If a dollar moves, it must be captured by the system without David's manual effort. He realized that human memory is for having ideas, not for holding them, and certainly not for tracking 1,000 transactions. He began integrating his bank APIs into a central dashboard, creating a single source of truth for his net worth. Every time he swiped his card, a notification didn't just pop up on his phone, it was categorized by an AI-driven algorithm. This allowed David to see his life through the lens of a burn rate, a metric usually reserved for high-growth tech startups. Seeing his life through the lens of a burn rate made him realize he was a CEO of a very important company, David Inc. He noticed that his highest spending happened on Friday nights, driven by revenge, bedtime procrastination, and stress-induced shopping. The data was revealing his emotional patterns, showing him that his spending was often a band-aid for a job he felt trapped in. To fix the leaks, David didn't just cancel subscriptions, he automated the negotiation phase of his bills. He used tools that scan for better insurance rates and lower internet costs, saving him another $150 a month with zero effort. These small wins began to compound, creating a psychological momentum that made him want to optimize even further. He then tackled the hidden tax of high-interest debt, the silent killer of middle-class wealth. By moving his debt to a 0% interest balance transfer card, he stopped the bleeding of $300 a month in pure interest. That $300 was no longer going to a bank's profit margin. It was staying in David's second brain. He felt like he had just given himself a $3,600 a year raise without even asking his boss for a penny. Now, the second brain wasn't just a tracker, it was becoming a predictive engine for his future self. He set up trigger warnings for when his discretionary spending reached 80% of his monthly limit. This acted as a digital guardrail, preventing the mindless spending that usually happened in the final week of the month. He was finally breaking the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle that keeps 60% of adults in a state of constant anxiety. He started following the 72 rule, a famous financial principle used to estimate how long it takes for money to double. He realized that the $2,000 he was losing every month wasn't just $24,000 a year, it was millions in lost future wealth. If that $2,000 was invested at a 7% return, it would grow to over $100,000 in just 4 short years. This realization was the aha moment where his financial second brain shifted from defense to offense. He wasn't just saving anymore, he was capitalizing his life to fund his biggest dreams and ambitions. David began implementing the 50-30-20 rule, but with a twist. He automated the 20% investment to happen the moment he got paid. This is the automatic millionaire principle, championed by David Bach in his book The Automatic Millionaire. By removing the decision to save, he removed the temptation to spend what was left over. His second brain was now a gatekeeper, ensuring his future self was taken care of before his current self could waste a dime. He started a daily 2-minute check-in, a habit that kept him grounded and connected to his financial reality. Every morning, while his coffee brewed, he would glance at his net worth pulse on his second brain dashboard. This ritual turned money from a source of fear into a source of gamified data and personal growth. He wasn't checking to see if he was poor, he was checking to see if his system was performing as designed. He began to see wealth not as a number in a bank, but as the number of days he could survive without a paycheck. This is the concept of wealth runway, and for the first time in his life, David's runway was getting longer. He noticed his stress levels dropping. He was no longer snapping at his partner or losing sleep over unexpected car repairs. The financial second brain had provided something more valuable than money. It had provided mental bandwidth. With his mind no longer occupied by money noise, David started thinking about value creation. He realized that the time he used to spend worrying could now be spent building his first side business. He'd reclaimed 10 hours a week of mental energy that used to be burned by financial anxiety. David was no longer just a consumer in the economy, he was preparing to become a producer. With the leaks plugged and the second brain humming, David found himself with a surplus of $2,000 every month. For the first time in years, he wasn't just surviving, he was accumulating dry powder, a term investors use for cash ready for opportunity. But a second brain isn't just for tracking money, it's for tracking the assets that create more money. David decided to use this found capital to fund his first digital business, a niche e-commerce brand he'd long dreamed of. Most entrepreneurs fail because they run out of cash before they find product-market fit. But David had a systemic advantage. He knew exactly how much he could afford to lose without risking his rent or his peace of mind. He treated his business as a sub-brain within his financial system, tracking every ad dollar with surgical precision. He recalled a lesson from Naval Ravikant: code and media are permissionless leverage. David didn't hire employees yet. He used his second brain to automate his marketing, his fulfillment, and his customer service. His daily habit shifted from audit to allocate, deciding where each recovered dollar would have the highest ROI. He realized that financial literacy is actually a language, and he was finally becoming fluent. He started reading balance sheets for fun, seeing them not as boring documents but as the story of a company. His second brain now featured a learning log where he summarized books like The Intelligent Investor and The Lean Startup. He was no longer just saving for a rainy day, he was investing for a sunny future. The $2,000 he recovered was being split, $1,000 into index funds and $1,000 into his growing business. This barbell strategy, popularized by Nassim Taleb, protected him from ruin while giving him massive upside potential. On one end, he had the safety of the total stock market. On the other, the explosive growth of his own entrepreneurship. 3 months in, his business hit its first $500 profit month, which the second brain immediately captured and reinvested. He wasn't spending his profits on treat-yourself dinners, he was feeding the machine to make it grow faster. This is the flywheel effect described by Jim Collins: hard at first, but eventually the momentum takes over. David's financial second brain was now more than a spreadsheet. It was an identity shift solidified in data. He noticed he no longer felt envy when seeing others' luxury purchases on social media. He knew that most rich people were actually high earners with high expenses, while he was becoming wealthy. Wealth is what you don't see: the investments, the automated systems, and the freedom to say no. David's ability to say no to a toxic project at work was his first taste of FU money. His boss noticed his new confidence. When you aren't desperate for a paycheck, you actually become a better negotiator. Ironically, by caring less about the need for the job, David was offered a promotion and a significant raise. Instead of inflating his lifestyle, he channeled the entire raise into his second brain's accelerant fund. He was living on 50% of his income now, a feat he thought was impossible just 6 months prior. The financial second brain was now filtering for lifestyle inflation, his system's most powerful firewall. Every time he felt the urge to upgrade his car or apartment, he would look at his financial freedom countdown. Seeing that a new car would delay his retirement by 5 years was enough to kill the impulse instantly. He was trading short-term dopamine for long-term deep satisfaction, a trade the brain rarely makes without a system. He started teaching his system to a close friend who was also struggling with debt. Teaching others is the ultimate way to master a concept, a technique known as the Feynman method. As he explained the zombies, vampires, and ghosts to his friend, David realized how far he had come. He wasn't the guy with the $2,000 leak anymore. He was a financial architect helping others build. His second brain grew to include a giving category. As he realized true wealth includes the ability to be generous, he donated a portion of his first business profits to a local charity, a sole ROI that no spreadsheet could fully capture.
David realized that money was just a tool, a medium of exchange for his most precious resource, time. With his business thriving and his leaks sealed, David's second brain entered its most sophisticated phase, the wealth multiplier. He was no longer just tracking expenses, he was managing a diversified portfolio that worked while he slept. He remembered the words of Warren Buffett, "If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die." His second brain now featured an asset allocation map, ensuring he wasn't overexposed to any single market crash. He automated his rebalancing, a process where the system tells him to sell high and buy low without emotional interference. Most investors panic when the market dips, but David's system viewed a market crash as a limited-time sale. Because he had that $2,000 monthly surplus automated, he was dollar-cost averaging into his future every single week. He stopped checking the price of his stocks and started checking the value of his dividends and cash flow. His second brain dashboard now displayed a freedom date, the exact day his passive income would exceed his bills. This wasn't just a number, it was a beacon of light at the end of a tunnel he had lived in for a decade. David began to optimize his tax strategy, moving money into accounts that protected his growth from the tax vampire. He realized it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep after the government takes its share. His daily 2-minute habit now included a gratitude log for the financial peace he had cultivated. He was no longer David the debtor, he was David the capitalist, a steward of resources for his family and community. He decided to take his first system-funded vacation, paid for entirely by the zombies he had killed months ago. Sitting on a beach, he realized he didn't feel guilty about spending money because it was already accounted for by the brain. The scarcity mindset that had plagued his 20s was being replaced by an abundance mindset. He saw that the world wasn't a zero-sum game. By building his wealth, he was creating more value for everyone around him. He returned from his trip with a new goal: to reach lean fire, financial independence, retire early. His second brain calculated that he was only 3 years away from never having to work a traditional job again. This realization gave him a sense of quiet power that emanated from him in every meeting and interaction. He began to focus on high-leverage activities, tasks that produced the greatest results for the least amount of effort. He outsourced his low-value tasks like grocery shopping and basic admin to buy back more of his golden hours. Your golden hours are the times of day when your creativity and energy are at their absolute peak. David used his golden hours to write a book about his journey, a media asset that would live in his second brain forever. He was following the compound effect, where small, smart choices lead to massive long-term results. Every no to a meaningless purchase was a yes to a meaningful future. He noticed his physical health improving. Less financial stress meant lower cortisol and better sleep quality. His financial second brain had inadvertently become a health second brain, as wealth and wellness are deeply linked. He started a health fund within his system, prioritizing organic food, a personal trainer, and preventative care. A healthy man wants 1,000 things, but a sick man only wants one, he often reminded himself. He was building a moat around his life, a layer of protection against the unpredictability of the world. Whether it was a recession or a global health crisis, David's system was designed to weather the storm. He looked at his old bank statements from the $2,000 loss days and felt like he was looking at a stranger. He realized that the biggest barrier to wealth isn't a low salary, it's a lack of a clear visual system. Humans are visual creatures. We need to see the data to believe the transformation is possible. His dashboard was now a colorful tapestry of green bars, upward curves, and success notifications. He felt a deep sense of responsibility to share this blueprint with as many people as possible. He started a YouTube channel, much like this one, to document the financial second brain in real time. David wasn't just a success story, he was a proof of concept for a new way of living in the digital age. As David's system matured, he realized that the financial second brain wasn't just about his own life. He began to think about generational wealth, the ability to provide a head start for those who would come after him. He set up automated accounts for his children's education, ensuring that their brain would start with a surplus, not a deficit. He was rewriting his family's financial DNA, breaking the cycle of scarcity that had lasted for 3 generations. The $2,000 he once lost to zombies was now the seed money for a legacy that would outlive him. He reached a state called Fat Fire, where his passive income didn't just cover his bills, it covered a life of luxury. But ironically, once he could afford anything, he found he wanted much less.
The system had taught him that the greatest luxury isn't a watch or a car. It is the total ownership of your Monday mornings. He officially retired from his corporate job at age 35, an event his second brain had predicted to the day. His final log out from the company server was not a moment of fear, but a moment of profound, quiet victory. He spent his first week of freedom simply walking in nature, letting his biological brain rest while his second brain ran the numbers. He realized that most people are human doings rather than human beings, trapped in a loop of constant activity. David was finally just being, secure in the knowledge that his financial architecture was invincible. He began to mentor young entrepreneurs, teaching them that profit is a habit, not an event. He showed them that a business is just a larger second brain, a system designed to solve problems for a profit. His financial second brain had become a philosophy of life, a way to interface with a complex, chaotic world. He looked back at his $2,000 a month leaks as the tuition fee he paid to learn the most important lesson of his life. Without that pain, he never would have sought the solution. Without the mess, he never would have built the system. He realized that every financial struggle is actually a data point waiting to be analyzed. "Don't wish it were easier," he quoted Jim Rohn. "Wish you were better. Wish for more skills." David had become better by building a system that was smarter than his impulses. He now lived in a world of conscious spending, where every dollar was an intentional vote for the life he wanted. He was no longer a victim of marketing or a slave to the next big thing. His second brain acted as a filter for truth in a world of financial noise and get-rich-quick schemes. He knew that real wealth is built in the boring middle, the consistent, automated execution of a simple plan. As he watched his net worth cross the 7-figure mark, he felt a sense of calm responsibility. He used a portion of his wealth to fund local art projects, turning hidden money into public beauty. His second brain dashboard now included a social impact score, measuring the good he was doing in the world. The journey from losing $2,000 to gaining a life was complete, but for you watching this, the journey is just beginning. Your zombies, vampires, and ghosts are waiting to be found. You have hidden money sitting in your accounts right now, waiting to be reclaimed. You don't need a higher salary first. You need a second brain first. Start by auditing your last 30 days. Find the leaks, face the numbers, build your dashboard. Automate your investments, pay yourself first, reclaim your golden hours and use them to build something that lasts. Financial freedom isn't a dream for the lucky few, it is a mathematical certainty for the organized. David did it, thousands of others are doing it, and you can do it too. Turn off the money noise and turn on your financial second brain today. Your future self is waiting for you to make the first move. Start now.